In a Nigerian village, the beautiful and virtuous Adanna finds herself at the center of a scandal when she mysteriously appears pregnant despite her well-known virginity. As whispers of dark magic and betrayal spread, the village is plunged into chaos, with crops failing and animals falling ill. The arrival of a mysterious medicine man, Babatunde, brings hope, but also reveals shocking truths that shake the community to its core. In a small village of Umofia, there lived a young girl named Adanna. She was known throughout the land for her unparalleled beauty and, more importantly, for being the last virgin in the village. Adanna's father, Chief Okri, was a respected elder in the community. He had grand plans for his daughter, envisioning her marriage to the wealthiest and most handsome man in the region, Emeka. However, Adanna's heart belonged to Chidi, a kind-hearted but poor farmer who had stolen her affections with his gentle ways and warm smile. Their love was a secret, hidden from the watchful eyes of the village and her father's ambitious plans. Adanna's friends, particularly Ngozi and Chioma, were consumed with jealousy. They couldn't bear to see Adanna's rising status in the village and the attention she received from all the eligible bachelors. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Ngozi and Chioma decided to take matters into their own hands. They whispered to each other, their eyes gleaming with mischief and malice. "We must find a way to ruin Adanna's reputation," Ngozi hissed. "Only then will we have a chance with the men of the village." Chioma nodded in agreement. "But how? She's always so careful, so pure." As they schemed, a mysterious old woman overheard their conversation. Her eyes twinkled with an otherworldly knowledge as she approached the girls. "I know of a way," the old woman croaked, her voice like dry leaves in the wind. "A potion that will make everyone believe the virgin is with child. But beware, for magic always comes with a price." Ngozi and Chioma exchanged excited glances, not realizing the gravity of what they were about to set in motion. Little did they know, their actions would not only affect Adanna but would shake the very foundations of their village and challenge everything they thought they knew about love, loyalty, and the supernatural. As the old woman began to reveal the secret of her potion, the village prepared for a series of events that would change their lives forever. The old woman led Ngozi and Chioma deep into the forest, to a clearing bathed in moonlight. There, she began to gather strange herbs and roots, muttering incantations under her breath. As the potion brewed in a small, blackened pot, the old woman turned to the girls with a stern warning. "This magic is powerful, but it is also dangerous. Are you sure you want to proceed?" Blinded by their jealousy, Ngozi and Chioma nodded eagerly, not realizing the consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, in another part of the village, Adanna was meeting secretly with Chidi. Under the cover of night, they whispered promises of love and dreamed of a future together. As dawn broke, Ngozi and Chioma put their plan into action. They slipped the potion into Adanna's morning drink, their hearts racing with anticipation and guilt. Days passed, and strange things began to happen. Adanna's belly seemed to grow rounder, though she insisted she was still pure. Whispers spread through the village like wildfire. Chief Okori was beside himself with rage and shame. He demanded to know who had dishonored his daughter. Emeka, the wealthy suitor, withdrew his proposal, leaving Adanna's future uncertain. Chidi, driven by his love for Adanna, stepped forward to claim responsibility, even though he knew they had never been intimate. His declaration shocked the village and infuriated Chief Okori even more. As tensions in the village reached a boiling point, strange occurrences began to multiply. Crops withered overnight, and livestock fell ill. The villagers whispered that a curse had befallen them. Ngozi and Chioma, racked with guilt, began to realize the gravity of what they had done. But they were too afraid to confess, fearing the wrath of both the village and the mysterious old woman. As the village descended into chaos and Adanna's condition became more pronounced, a new figure appeared on the outskirts of the community. It was a traveling medicine man, known for his ability to communicate with the spirit world. The medicine man's arrival brought a glimmer of hope to the distressed villagers. Little did they know, his presence would unravel the web of lies and magic that had entangled their community, leading to revelations that would challenge everything they believed. Medicine man, known as Babatunde, made his way into the heart of the village. His eyes, filled with ancient wisdom, scanned the faces of the troubled villagers. Babatunde called for a gathering of all villagers. As they assembled, he began a ritual, burning strange herbs and chanting in a language long forgotten. As the ritual progressed, Adanna suddenly collapsed, her body racked with pain. The villagers gasped, fearing the worst. Chidi rushed to Adanna's side, cradling her in his arms. His love for her was evident to all, despite the scandal surrounding them. As Babatunde continued his chanting, a strange mist began to form around Adanna. The villagers watched in awe as it took shape, revealing ghostly figures and scenes from the past. In the mist, the image of the old woman who gave the potion appeared, causing Ngozi and Chioma to gasp in shock. Their secret was being revealed. Chief Okri, seeing the truth unfold before his eyes, fell to his knees in shame. He realized the grave injustice he had done to his daughter and Chidi. As the mist dissipated, Adanna's swollen belly began to shrink. The villagers watched in amazement as her body returned to its normal state. Babatunde approached Ngozi and Chioma, his eyes filled with understanding but also stern judgment. "The path of jealousy leads only to destruction," he said. "You must make amends." As the truth settled over the village, a new challenge arose. The crops were still failing, and livestock continued to fall ill. Babatunde explained that the magic unleashed had disrupted the natural balance of the land. To restore harmony, Babatunde declared that a great sacrifice would be needed. But what kind of sacrifice, and who would make it? The village held its breath as Babatunde prepared to reveal the solution. Babatunde gathered the villagers in a large circle, his eyes scanning each face as he prepared to reveal the nature of the sacrifice needed. "The land demands a sacrifice of truth and redemption," Babatunde announced, his voice carrying across the hushed crowd. "Those who have wronged must right their wrongs, not just in words, but in deeds." All eyes turned to Ngozi and Chioma, who trembled under the weight of their guilt and the villagers' stares. Babatunde continued, "For 7 days and 7 nights, these two must tend to the sickest animals and the most withered crops, pouring their sweat and tears into the earth." But the sacrifice didn't end there. Chief Okori stepped forward, his head bowed. "I too have wronged my daughter and this village with my pride and ambition," he declared. Babatunde nodded, "You must relinquish your title for 1 moon cycle, living as a common man and serving the needs of the village." As for Adanna and Chidi, their love had been tested and proven true. Babatunde turned to them with a smile. "Your sacrifice will be to forgive, to lead this village into a new era of understanding and compassion." With the sacrifices declared, a sense of hope began to stir in the village. But the path to healing would not be easy. As days passed, small miracles began to occur. Tender green shoots appeared in the fields where Ngozi and Chioma toiled. The sickly animals began to regain their strength, responding to the care and attention they received. Chief Okori, humbled by his new role, found a deeper connection with his people. His wisdom, once clouded by ambition, now shone through in his simple acts of service. Adanna and Chidi, guided by Babatunde, began to implement new traditions in the village, fostering unity and understanding. As the 7th day approached, anticipation grew in the village. Would their sacrifices be enough to restore balance to the land? Babatunde prepared for a final ritual, one that would call upon the spirits of the land to judge their efforts. As dusk fell on the 7th day, Babatunde led the villagers to the heart of the once withered fields. The air was thick with anticipation and the scent of damp earth. In the center of the field, Babatunde began to draw an intricate pattern on the ground using colored powders and seeds. The villagers gathered around the pattern, forming a circle. Babatunde instructed them to join hands, creating an unbroken chain of unity. As night fell, Babatunde began to chant, his voice rising and falling like the wind. The colored powders in the pattern began to glow faintly. Suddenly, a warm breeze swept through the fields, carrying with it the scent of fresh growth and new life. The villagers gasped as they felt an energy pulse through their joined hands. The glow from the pattern intensified, shooting beams of light into the sky. The clouds above began to swirl, forming shapes that looked like animals, plants, and ancient spirits. Ngozi and Chioma, standing side by side, felt a warmth spread through their bodies. As they watched in awe, the last traces of the potion's magic left them in a shimmer of light. Chief Okri, stripped of his title but standing tall, felt a renewed sense of purpose flood through him. The wisdom of a true leader, earned through humility, settled in his heart. Adanna and Chidi, their hands tightly clasped, saw visions of a prosperous future for their village. Their love, tested and true, would be the foundation for this new beginning. As the ritual reached its peak, the ground began to tremble. The villagers held their breath, unsure if this was a sign of approval or impending disaster. Suddenly, shoots of new growth burst from the earth, rapidly growing into healthy plants. The sickly animals in the nearby pens began to stir, their eyes bright and alert. The clouds above dispersed, revealing a sky full of stars. A feeling of peace and renewal washed over the village. As the energy of the ritual began to subside, Babatunde raised his arms, his voice ringing out clear and strong. "The spirits have judged us worthy," he declared. "But our journey is not over."
As dawn broke over the rejuvenated village, the inhabitants stirred, still in awe of the previous night's events. The air was filled with the scent of fresh earth and new beginnings. Babatunde gathered the villagers once more, his face serious despite the miracle they had witnessed. "The land is healed," he said, "but the real work begins now." He explained that to maintain the balance, the village would need to adopt new ways of living in harmony with the land and each other. The first step would be to create a council of elders, with representatives from all parts of the community. Adanna and Chidi were chosen to lead this council, their love and commitments to the village serving as an inspiration to all. Meanwhile, Ngozi and Chioma, humbled by their experience, volunteered to become the village's first environmental guardians, tasked with monitoring the health of the crops and animals. Former Chief Okri, his period of service as a common man complete, was invited to join the council as an advisor. His newfound wisdom and humility made him a valuable asset. As the village settled into its new rhythm, unexpected visitors arrived. Traders from neighboring communities, drawn by rumors of the village's miraculous recovery, came to see for themselves. This presented both an opportunity and a challenge. How would the village share their newfound prosperity without falling back into old patterns of greed and inequality? Babatunde suggested creating a fair trade system, where the village's abundance could be shared in exchange for goods and knowledge from other communities. As word spread of the village's transformation, it attracted more than just traders. A group of young people from a drought-stricken region arrived, seeking to learn the secrets of the village's success. Adanna saw an opportunity to spread the lessons they had learned. She proposed creating a school of traditional wisdom and sustainable living, where visitors could learn and then take these practices back to their own communities. However, not everyone in the village was comfortable with these rapid changes. Some of the older residents feared that too much outside influence might disrupt their way of life. As tensions began to simmer, Chidi realized they needed to find a way to honor their traditions while embracing positive change. He called for a village-wide celebration that would showcase their culture and new innovations side by side. As preparations for the celebration began, a new challenge emerged on the horizon. Dark clouds gathered in the distance, bringing with them the promise of the heaviest rains the region had seen in living memory. As the dark clouds loomed closer, the village buzzed with activity. Chidi and Adanna called an emergency council meeting to prepare for the impending deluge. Babatunde suggested they use their newfound harmony with nature to redirect the water flow, protecting their crops while also preserving the rain for future use. The entire village worked together, digging channels and building earthen dams. Even the visitors pitched in, learning valuable skills in the process. As the first heavy drops began to fall, the village held its breath. Would their preparations be enough? The rain fell in sheets, but the channels held. Water flowed away from the vulnerable crops and into the newly created reservoirs. What could have been a disaster instead became a blessing. The reservoirs filled, promising water security for seasons to come. As the storm passed, leaving behind a glistening, water-rich landscape, the village gathered for the celebration Chidi had proposed. Adanna stood before the assembled crowd, her voice strong and clear. "We have faced jealousy, deceit, and natural challenges," she said. "But through unity, wisdom, and respect for the land, we have emerged stronger." Chidi joined her, adding, "Our village will always face new challenges. But now we know that together, honoring both tradition and innovation, we can overcome anything." The celebration lasted long into the night, with stories shared, lessons learned, and new friendships forged between villagers and visitors alike. As the festivities wound down, Babatunde prepared to take his leave. His work here was done, but the lessons he taught would endure. Before he left, Babatunde shared a final piece of wisdom. "Remember, the strength of a community lies not in its prosperity, but in how it faces adversity together." With that, he turned and walked into the dawn, leaving behind a village forever changed. The moral lesson of this story is that true strength comes from unity, forgiveness, and respect for both tradition and progress. It shows that jealousy and deceit can harm not just individuals, but entire communities. Thank you for watching this story. Please leave a beautiful comment and do not forget to like and share with your families and friends and subscribe for more stories. See you in my next story. Take care.